As part of my welcome to country for everyone here this morning, I'd like to start off with the local language. The local language spoken here for thousands of years. It's called Wurundjeri. We say Wiminjika, Gabi Malamungal, burned that meeting, which means welcome, hello, how are you, and good morning to everyone here today. I'd like to first of all start off and acknowledge a couple of very important people to myself that give me the pride about my identity, because that's something that was taken away from my ancestors. My grandmother, she was a very feisty but very special woman. To give you a little bit of an insight into the Wurundjeri battle over the last 200 years, we only had 18 individuals left in 1863. Nan had 16 children herself, so thanks Nan for my Aboriginality as well as the revitalisation of our population, our survival, so thank you. I'd also like to acknowledge two other men, very important men in our particular difficult circumstances after colonisation, such as William Barrack, who fought for the basic human rights that we all enjoy today as Aboriginal people, and Simon Wonga, who was a bit of a visionary, who set up educational and business, economic systems so we could survive that very difficult time after colonisation. To give you a little bit of an insight into who we are, Aboriginal Australia is extremely diverse. There's more languages spoken here traditionally than there is language spoken in the world. The Wurundjeri people were the family groups of the Yarra and its tributaries. The Yarra is a great symbol of our connection to country. Both the physical connection, where we lived here sustainably under the law of the elders, and the spiritual connection, where both men were created from the banks of the river and women from the waters of the river. And that's what our dreaming stories say. So we have a very strong connection to this land and still trying to maintain that today. Traditionally, each person was brought up with a very broad knowledge from their extended family. Both men and women, or boys and girls, learnt the skills and knowledge they needed to survive and to become a responsible adult throughout their early childhood. Men's roles, I suppose, was more of hunting and sustaining of their families, and women's the gathering side of things. When colonisation hit here, I'd like to use a modern day example, because the traumas that people feel from horrible, I suppose, acts of nature, such as our horrible fires we had a few years ago, we can relate to that as well, and we call it intergenerational traumas. It may be not something that affects you today, but can also affect your kids and your kids' kids. And the example I'll use is a modern one so people can hopefully relate to. Imagine going home tonight and having no access to your home. You're out on the street. You go to the authorities to stand up for your rights and you don't have any. And to make things even worse, your language is taken and all the knowledge you've learnt and have the right to teach your children, you are not allowed to do that. It's a bit of an attack on you, and it does affect, I suppose, the generations coming after you. Concerning our particular men's business and the traumas we went through, our men were very strong traditionally in caring and sustaining their families. At colonisation, that role was pretty much replaced with, unfortunately, alcohol and tobacco. And things such as, I suppose, drug and alcohol abuse, high incarceration rates, high unemployment, high health issues, are all effects from this time. To move forward, I totally believe in reconciliation. And to me, reconciliation has a number of key points to that. One is education. Education is a great motivation factor for me. I believe it breaks down so many barriers of ignorance, because the Aboriginal history and story has not been told here, especially here in Victoria. I'm not sure about the rest of the states, but here in Victoria. And there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It will be occurring through our schools shortly, which is a great positive for all of our wider community, I believe. Also, we ask people not just to hear, but to listen to us. Aboriginal people have their own individual pathways and individual stories, and we really need to connect to the wider community at government level, at community level, to help us build resource and capacity so we can offer our children opportunities for a successful future just like everybody else. And I think it's really important. Here's a word for you to remember. Jindi Warrabak means come together, join and unite. I think it's an extremely important concept and term that the Indigenous and non-Indigenous communities can walk and work together. I'll just finish off my welcome with a traditional explanation of what the actual welcome to country is and what it means. We say Wiminjika, that means welcome. That's one word out of a large vocabulary. The word Tandarum or Tandarum is the actual law here on country that existed for thousands of generations. And the basics of it are If you were to conduct a business meeting and travel overseas, you would need a passport to get access to another country. You conduct your business and then come home. The Tanderham ceremony was pretty much similar. Messages were sent out. Once the messages were conveyed, a period of time later, a ceremony occurred. Once the ceremony occurred, all the women of the tribe formed one side of a very large gathering circle and the men the other. An introduction from our elders to the visiting elders. The offering of vegetation symbolised you could use water, plant and animal resources here on country. You'd be offered a tarnuk with water in it. Tarnuk is a wooden bowl. You'd sip the water. That symbolised you were safe, cared for, and you were very much looked after and respected as a visitor. And then fire. Fire was lit in this ceremony to symbolise something. Now, fire was used to cleanse or clean up this land, I suppose, in a physical manner for thousands of years. The early Europeans mentioned every 3 to 5 years country was burnt. And when they arrived here, the country was in pristine condition. It is something that the Aboriginal people used to manage country. The fire I'm about to mention is more about what we call murup. Murup's your spirit. And by passing through the smoke of the fire of the Tanderham ceremony, you're symbolising your spiritual cleansing. Now, I'm not lighting fires in here this morning, but I'd like people to, there's a bit of responsibility that I believe my elders would like to ask you, and that is to feel truly welcome to Wurundjeri country. The respect of our culture, the respect of our people, and the respect of our land is paramount. And if people do that, then I then welcome people to country and language. We say, Waminjika, Yiman, Wurundjeri Balak Walambiak. It's a welcome to Wurundjeri's home and welcome to Wurundjeri country, and I hope you enjoy the conference here today. So thank you.